All right.
All right. Well, hello everyone. My name is Ethan Vickrey, and today I'm going to be presenting a brief tutorial on how to get started for Ambertools, specifically made for Windows users. Two quick disclaimers I want to give before getting into the meat of it is I know that a lot of the information that I'm about to present isn't going to be incredibly relevant to a lot of the graduate students present, but it is my hope that by the end of it, that you will have a better understanding for how to better help people along who are struggling to get started with Ambertools. Also, I'll try to keep things pretty short so you guys can get to enjoying your weekend. Um, the other disclaimer I want to give is this guide is by no means definitive. There exists plenty of alternatives, both to Ambertools and just other software that I'm going to mention throughout. I'll try to highlight a few of those alternatives as we go along, but just do please keep in mind that what works for me or it doesn't work for me may work for somebody else. So experimentation is always welcome. With those disclaimers out of the way, I do want to first address the question as to why I made this and why I hope that someone might follow it. The first reason being that Ambertools is a very, very ubiquitous piece of software that many people use for MD. It stands to reason then that somebody getting started in the field is likely going to be interacting with people using Ambertools. And so having the ability to be able to interface with other people without having to deal with like changing file formats and other things of that nature goes a long way to just make the whole process of learning a lot easier. That way you're not having to worry about different, conversion tools and other things of that nature. Similarly, being able to work in both Linux and Windows environments is great for versatility. Having two options is always better than having just one option. And then finally, I want to highlight some of the pitfalls that I fell into when I was getting started. So hopefully other people will have a much easier time going down the line. And actually, one of the first pitfalls that I want to mention is when getting started with Linux software, you need to install WSL on your Windows machine. WSL is short for the Windows subsystem for Linux. Basically, it just lets you run Linux-based software on a Windows environment. Now, if you were to look on the official Microsoft page for WSL, they give instructions for installing WSL at the bottom there using command prompt or PowerShell. I do not recommend this method, as when I did it originally, I was able to get the console to run, but GUI software would crash upon opening. I do not recommend this. Instead, what I recommend is using the Microsoft Store. You can typically find it on any kind of standard modern Windows machine that you buy. You just have to hit the start button and it'll be there in the top row. And then once you're there, just simply search WSL and you should find it immediately. You'll want two pieces of software here. You want the WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux, and also I recommend installing Ubuntu. The reason why is because WSL on its own doesn't really do anything. So having Ubuntu gives you better access to the console and just file management. Other pitfall that I will highlight here is that when installing Ubuntu, you just want the base version. There are LTS versions available as well. I do believe they require additional setup to get Ambertools working, and they're just kind of overkill for what someone would probably want for this sort of thing. So you're just wasting disk space. So just install in base Ubuntu and everything should be fine. You'll know you've done that right when you open up your File Explorer. You should see a new directory for Linux software, and you should see also the Ubuntu folder in there as well. Also, I want to mention another benefit of installing it through the Microsoft Store is that it will automatically, any updates to the WSL or Ubuntu will automatically install with your normal Windows updates as well. So you don't have to worry about going and opening the PowerShell or command prompt and checking for updates that way. It'll do so automatically, which is another benefit of doing it this way. Once you have those things installed, all you need to do is open up the actual command prompt. You can do that just by searching Windows Subsystem for Linux in your executable files. And then you should notice as well, if you've done everything correctly, you should notice that the executable icon for the command console should be that of the Linux logo and not Ubuntu or the default application icon. If you do see those, chances are you've done something wrong and you may want to go back. A good way to check if you are running the correct version of WSL, you can open up PowerShell or command prompt and just type in WSL status, and you should see what's on screen right now. You should see your default distribution is Ubuntu, and you want to be running the version 2 of WSL as well. So once that's done, you're ready to get started with Ambertools. So what I recommend now is going to the Ambertools website. I have links to all the websites mentioned in the PDF version of this guide, which I have provided to Dr. Ahn. She can distribute that for you. Once you're there, just type in your name and institution, and you should get the compressed Ambertools source code archive. Once you have that, simply put it into your home directory. You can find that under Ubuntu home, and then whatever username you chose, it should look like this, what's on screen right now. Then open up your console and simply extract it with the command labeled at the bottom. Once all is said and done, your directory should look like this. You'll see, and I'll point out, the Amber22 source code file at the top there. Now, the last big step that you need to do, Ambertools also has an article for installing Amber on Ubuntu. One thing the article doesn't really mention that I want to highlight is that when you try to run these commands, chances are you'll get an error that basically says you don't have enough permissions. All you need to do to fix that is just run these commands with the sudo prefix, and then everything should work. Also, small thing is you might run into an issue with CMake. Ambertools has instructions at the top of the article there. Again, this is all linked in the PDF version, so everything will be ready for you to copy and paste there. Also, be sure to run these commands before you try and make your install. Also, at the bottom of the guide, I've included a very, very brief, bare bones guide for just the very simple commands to get started for people who've never used Unix or Linux consoles before. Just the bare bones essential to navigating and making directories and deleting files that you don't want anymore. And that really is all there is to it. I designed this guide to be as quick and efficient as possible. There are, again, alternatives. I do encourage experimentation. If there are any issues in the future that people are having, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to amend any part of this guide going forward. It's particularly in regards, I know as well, the command shell problem with the installation of WSL, I do know is a known bug, and apparently they're working on getting that sorted out. So that might change in the future. But yes, I hope that it was informative and short and sweet. Feel free to ask me any questions you have. Thank you.